So, a reminder before the lesson begins, make sure you're taking notes and you're listening and watching for the keyword or phrase.
Let's get to it.
So, today we're going to be talking about combining like terms. This is lesson 4 in Unit 4. It's our day 2 of discussions in combining like terms. You can always check out day 1, and I'll link it above. Our aim for today is how can we use distributive property to simplify algebraic expressions. We're going to go over the important vocabulary that we've been using, and then we're going to get into the notes and some guided practice. So we've been using simplify a lot. It's making an expression easier to understand and to evaluate. Most of the times in a problem, when combining like terms, the directions will say to simplify the expression. Your like terms are going to be terms that have the same variables, which are raised to the same power. Just to go over what the distributive property is, you want to make sure you're multiplying the term outside of the parentheses with the first term inside the parentheses, and then following the same procedure, multiplying what's outside the parentheses with the second term, and then continuing to do so with all terms inside the parentheses. And then you're going to combine like terms and simplify. So if you had 4 times 2 plus 3, you'd make sure you're multiplying the first term and then the second term. This would give you 4 times 2 plus your 4 times 3. You want to make sure you're keeping that operation in between. Just a review of your distributive property. And complex fractions were covered in Unit 1. It's a review. I will link the video up at the top as well, but the first step is you want to make sure you're simplifying your numerator, simplify your denominator, and then you're going to divide and simplify, and you want to make sure that you have it in simplest form. Okay, let's try some practice. Now here's number 1. We see our distributive property. What I always suggest to my students is that you're always following PEMDAS. So you want to make sure you're completing whatever's in the parentheses first. What you can do is you can look in the parentheses and see if you have any like terms. You can start combining those and then distribute. So here we have x, negative 5x, we have negative 15, and negative 11. So what you can do is you can combine everything. So I have my negative 6 on the outside, x minus 5x. Just going to move everything around, and I have my negative 15 minus 11 together. So now I can combine my like terms. X minus 5x, I'm going to add negative 4x. Then I have negative 15 minus 11, I'm going to get negative 26. Okay, so what I can do now, I am going to use my distributive property. I'm going to multiply my first term by the one outside and my outside term by my second term. Remember, when you're talking about terms, you want to make sure you're taking the sign in front. So I'm just going to make sure I'm highlighting my negatives because that's super important. I always like to rewrite everything, but that's just personally me. So I have negative 6 times my negative 4x plus negative 6 times my negative 26. I can even drop my addition in between. Make that smaller. And I can just have negative 6 times negative 4x minus 6 times negative 26. Both of those would be equivalent. Again, making sure you take all your terms in front, because here we have our negative 6. So I'm going to continue to simplify. Negative 6 times negative 4x is going to give me positive 24x. And then again, following with multiplying outside to our inside terms, we have negative 6 times negative 26, which would be positive 156. So our expression, when simplified, will turn into 24x plus 156. Okay, let's try the second problem. Here we see a complex fraction. We have our fraction in our numerator, so we want to make sure we're following those steps, and then we're going to divide. So the first step is to simplify. The second step is then to simplify the denominator if we have to, and then we're going to divide and simplify. So here we have our first term that we're going to multiply to every term inside the parentheses. So we have here 3 terms. But what I notice is inside our parentheses, we have 1/10 x minus 1/2 x. We could combine those, or we can just multiply and distribute first. Since I showed combining in the other problem, I'm going to show you how you can do it, just multiplying everything out with the distributive property. So I have negative 2/5. I'm going to multiply 1/10 x. We have negative 2/5 times negative 1/2 x. And then negative 2/5 times our 3/8. So I'm going to make sure I'm multiplying. Just going to move that up a little bit. Distributing and multiplying. So what I get in my first term, negative 2/5 times 1/10, I'm going to get negative 1/25. When I simplify, I have negative 2/5 times negative 1/2. I'm going to get a positive 1/5 x. Then when I multiply negative 2/5 and 3/8, I'm going to get negative 3/20 when I simplify. So this is when I multiply everything out. So when I simplify, I'm going to get 2 over 50, and then I'm simplifying it to negative 1/25. If I multiply across, I get positive 2 over 10, and I simplify positive 1/5. If I multiply, I'm going to get 6 over 40, and I'm simplifying to negative 3/20. And then remember, the whole thing has to go over 2. But we're still simplifying, so I can come back to that. I have like terms, my x values. I'm going to combine those. When I combine them to get a common denominator, it would be negative 1/25 over 5/25. I would subtract or add my negative and a positive. I would get 4/25 x minus 3/20. And this whole thing is going to be divided by 2. Now, when you have your 4/25 x minus 3/20, you have to divide 2 into each value. So you're going to divide 4/25 by 2, negative 3/20 by 2. So we're going to do a little bit of side math. So we have 4/25 divided by 2, which becomes 4/25 times, let's use a dot, 1 over 2. And then we have on this side, we have 3/20 divided by 2, which is 3/20 times 1/2. I'm going to get 3/40. I'm going to get here 4/50. I'm going to simplify. So here we have 2/25 x minus our 3/40. And that's what we're left with our expression. Okay, for number 3, pause the video, try this one on your own, and check back to see if you got the correct answer. So when we're distributing, you again want to take your first term on the outside and distribute it to every term inside the parentheses. Again, you can combine your like terms if you can in your parentheses, But in this case, it doesn't seem like you can. Again, remember, take the sign in front, and then you can combine your like terms. So 3 times 1.6, 3 times 4.325k, negative 8.3 times 9.1, 8.3, negative 0.3k. Okay, again, I took my outside term with the sign and I distributed throughout. So what I have when I just distribute again, I'm going to get 4.8 plus 3 times 4.325k is going to be 12,975k. Negative 8.3 times 9.1 is negative 7553. Then you have plus 2.49k. So I'm going to move around my like terms. These are all the same. I can use my table if I want, or I can just move them over and then combine them. That's up to you. So my k values, 975k plus 2.49k. Then I have 4.9 minus 75.53. So what I'm going to get is 15.465k and a negative 70.73. So I'm going to combine that and get 15.465k minus 70.73. Or if it was switched around, remember taking the sign in front, it'd be negative 70.73 plus 15.465k. Either of those would be technically correct in your answer. For number 4, pause the video, try this one on your own, and then come back and check your answer. So here we're being asked about Jenna. She's trying to build a fence for her mother's garden. What would be the expressions for the area and perimeter? So you're finding two formulas. We know area is length times width. Perimeter is you're adding all the sides. Okay, so those are the formulas that you need to know. We know that one side is 3x, the other one is 6x plus 5. So let's go with our area. We have 3x times 6x plus 5. We can't combine anything in our parentheses, but we can distribute. So we can distribute our 3x to both terms. We would get 18x, x times x is x squared, plus 15x, and that would be our area in square units because we don't have any specific one measurement, so square units. Your perimeter would be 2 times 3x plus 2 times 6x plus 5. You could also write it as 3x plus 3x plus 6x plus 5 plus 6x plus 5. Either one would be okay. I like to use the distributive property because it seems a little bit easier sometimes. So the first term we're going to get as 6x plus 12x plus 10. And here we can combine our like terms. 6x and 12x are like terms. So we get 18x plus 10 as our perimeter, and it's just measured in units. Again, because it's unknown. So we have our perimeter, and then we also have our area. Make sure you're identifying your keyword or phrase. Make sure you're writing down any questions that you have for me. I will see you all in the next video. Bye.